Welcome everyone to Catalysta Presents Conversations, coming to you from the studios at Catalysta Centrale. My name is Chickie Munch.
And my name is Binnie Bunny Munch. And we are the founders of Catalysta. Chip, chip, chip. And this is Gerald Gerbil.
Are you going to introduce me?
Who is that?
Don't worry, just do the intro.
Okay. Ignoring the disembodied voice.
Right.
Catalysta Presents Conversations invites guests related with any of our Catalysta programs for deeper dives into topical waters.
Chip, 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 chip.
Will do. Centrale is energized by the Munch deck, a technical marvel developed by my sister, Binnie.
The Munch deck is a mashup of the Star Trek holodeck with Doctor Who's TARDIS. It can create any environment, populate it, and do a bit of time travel in a pinch.
This is a good time for me to come in.
Okay, Binnie, who is that?
Chickie, I'd like you to meet the Munch deck.
I'd like you to call me MD.
The Munch deck has a voice?
You want to see her body too? Go for it, Gerald.
Whoa.
I love my new body.
Are you kidding me, Binnie Bunny?
Don't you love her?
You're the Munch deck?
Call me MD.
Nice to meet you, MD. Why did you make a body for the Munch deck?
'Cause it's cool.
Fair enough.
You're right. Let's get the show on the road.
Can I help?
Do you know who's on the show?
Chickie, she's the Munch deck. She has access to all known and unknown human information. So I think she knows who's on the show.
Okay, I'm just getting up to speed here. Of course, MD, we'd love your help.
Oh, goody. Can I conduct the interview? I've got some great questions.
Sure, go for it.
You can do the intro.
Gee, thanks. Dr. Jessica Rose is a freelance scientist with a background in applied mathematics, immunology, computational biology, molecular biology, and biochemistry.
Her in-depth study and analysis of COVID data from VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Responding System, has made her a verifiable source of scientific information.
Jessica is one of 34 courageous contributors to the best-selling book, Canary in a COVID World, and her writings on the pharma industry, AI, and governance can be found on her Substack page, Unacceptable Jessica. Welcome to Catalysta Presents Conversations, Jessica.
Sure thing.
So, Jessica, you experienced deplatforming and censorship over the past few years. Are you encouraged by changes in policy by social media companies and the federal government right now when it comes to censorship?
From this girl's point of view, there hasn't been much a change in censorship. And I hate to say that, but it's the truth. I mean, I was just thinking today, I have a ritual of taking time out every day to do my athletics and to kind of quiet the mind and the space to kind of answer the questions that I have pertaining to work or life or whatever. And one of the questions my brain was trying to answer today was about censorship and how far outside of the system of censorship we actually have gotten recently. I mean, certainly it's better than it would have been. And by it, I mean the circumstances of the world and I know a lot of people will disagree with me on this, but like since Elon bought Twitter and provided this platform, which is basically just an AI learning tool, but still, I mean, it does represent a place where you can exchange information to some degree that isn't mainstream. So I was thinking about today what the world would have been like by now if certain things hadn't happened, like that, for example, or if that cackling person, Kamala Harris, had become president, quote unquote. And it's not that I like where we are. It certainly is better. But I also certainly feel, just talking about, let's call it X, but I'm so censored on that platform. I get like a couple hundred followers more and then I lose 500. So yeah, there's two issues. There's the unfollowing thing which people tell me is like bot cleanup. And I'm like, no, I don't buy that shit, because I know I watched one week when two very high profile people started following me. And then like the next day they were not following me. And it's not, and other people will tell me, yeah, all of a sudden I'm not following you anymore and I have to refollow you. So it's like, there's some kind of system of control there, which is, I don't know who controls the system of control, but there is one there that suppresses certain accounts. And one of those accounts is mine, I'm sure of it. I can't get more followers for the life of me. Not sure how I got as many as I have. I'll just give you an example. If I post some real strong data, which is just a visual representation of government data, to show the world, like, this is what's going on in this government database in terms of adverse events in the context of this product, this injectable product and or vaccine, of my 117,000 followers, and that's an okay number, like 4,000 people might see it. And it's like, that's not logistically possible unless there's like kind of a switch that's, it's demoting the availability of the information that I'm sharing. Maybe I'm not using the right keywords. Maybe I'm using the wrong keywords. Maybe I've been flagged from the beginning because I was one of the lucky people who was actually banned from Twitter during the whole COVID nonsense thing pre-Elon. I might have a permanent, sticker on me for all intents and purposes. I don't know. So that's just one example of how I personally know that censorship is still very much a problem. And it depends on what you're saying and who you are. And from that point of view, nothing has changed. And I hate to say that, but it's true. Not much has changed. I won't say nothing. Let me correct myself. Not much has changed.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot better on X now, but if you're still gaining and losing followers like that, that's insane.
Well, there are certain people, I'm an observer. I spend a lot of my time reading and watching and trying to acquire knowledge. And there are certain people whose accounts grow by tens of thousands weekly. I'm watching it happen before my eyes. And some of them are saying far more controversial things than I have ever said. I'm not a controversial person at all, from my point of view, because basically all I've done for the last 4 years is reiterate government data. I've said nothing controversial. And so it's like, I wonder what the difference between me and that person is. And I don't know. So there's some kind of underbelly that still exists. And this is why I kind of said what I said before about the ownership. It's like, I'm not saying that it's not better now, but I don't think it's great. Because if, it's not a free speech platform, if it's only free speech for some, or if it's kind of like, enclosed in a bubble of, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, you are or you're not allowed to say certain things. Anyway, I won't say much more than that, but that's just one thing. I mean, and then from the point of view of actually making change with regard to what I've been doing for the last 4 years, which would entail access to data. I mean, it's such a stupid thing. Like, it's that we have this problem. All I'm asking for is raw data that is already supposed to be publicly accessible. That's all I want. I want access to the vaccine safety database. Like, that's all I want. It seems weird to me that that's not been prioritized, considering what we've all been through in the last 4 years, and considering what might be being set up in terms of a new bird flu pandemic. Like, we need to have data scientists analyze that data, do subsequent analyses with it, like whatever they're going to do, like Bayesian analysis or Bradford Hill or whatever, to truly paint the most up-to-date and real picture of what happened in terms of adverse events with these COVID products that we can. It's 4 years too late, and I shouldn't laugh because people are still suffering. But it seems like such a small thing to ask, but yet I'm still waiting. So yeah, censorship exists.
So with all of the health-related research that you've been doing, what do you expect to see, or what do you even hope to see from Robert Kennedy Jr.'s Department of Health and Human Services?
I hope to see everything. And like, number one, what I just said, release of the VSD data, maybe the second set of VAERS data, the second set of books, me and OpenVAERS, which is, this person who's designed a website to actually give a beautiful face to the VAERS data to make it accessible for anybody in terms of, say, the full counts of adverse events in certain product contexts, how many people died, how soon after the product was administered did they die anyway. We're just dying to see the full set of VAERS data, because this front end data set that they make accessible for download is great. There's a lot of information there, but it's also, like I said, the second set of books. There must be, by my guess, there must be, and I'm not kidding here, millions of reports that didn't actually make it to the front end. And within each of those temporary IDs that people get when they file a report, there must be more demographic data that we don't have access to when it's finally given a permanent VAERS ID and uploaded to the front end system. So I want access to all of that. I mean, so do a lot of other data analysts that have been looking at this for years, who have, like, literally with a snap of our finger, because we have everything set up from a structure point of view, from an infrastructure point of view, we have everything set up. I just have to press a button and then I'll have the answer to any question you could want to know. Like, for example, if I had additional demographic data pertaining to race, I could answer the question, do the Moderna shots affect Black people more than white people, for example? That's just throwing an idea out there, but this is the kind of thing you could do. And horror of horrors, if there was some kind of discrepancy, I'm not saying one way or another, I don't know, but makes you wonder why they don't give you access to the data. Anyway, so I'm hoping Robert will provide that. I'm hoping he goes full force with this RICO idea, the collusion of certain organizations to commit criminal acts. I'm hoping that, from a realistic point of view, I'm hoping that he himself doesn't get suppressed too much from the inner circle, because I know about that much about the hierarchies of politics and wargaming, but I have become aware that even the best leaders with the best intentions are sometimes unable to act on those best intentions because they're surrounded by vultures, for lack of a better word. Sometimes they don't even have access to outside information because it's filtered by the sphere of vultures. I hope that we data analysts get more access to the basics of the data so that we can tell the truth of the potential damages of specific vaccines and products, especially these gene-based prodrugs, the COVID stuff, because those things are a disaster.
So what are your thoughts on how RFK and Health and Human Services should communicate with the public, since so many of his ideas are taboo to a large portion of the population?
Yeah, one by one. It hasn't changed for me. Like, I learned real early on. I'm a person who walks the earth like hating things that are wrong, which makes life really hard for me because there's so much wrong, and it's a constant balancing act of not being really angry all the time and finding joy in life. But like, just to expand on that thought, in the beginning of the COVID nonsense, I spent my time trying to convince people that I know they're smart, and my family and loved ones and all that stuff, that the whole thing was a lie, because I knew it was a lie, because I have the background to know that it was a lie. And God, all that did was give me like grief and frustration and anger and pain and all those things, that we all feel, but shouldn't for prolonged periods of time because it's not healthy. So thankfully, I also have an ability to see if something's not good for me. So I was like, you know what? There's nothing you can do for the people who aren't ready to see or hear. So it's not that I'm turning my back on those people. I'm just going to wait. There's a big difference between like turning your back and being patiently waiting for people. So it's like, it's years. I was also just thinking about this today. It's a skill to learn to be patient. And many people don't have this ability to be patient with others in longer terms. Sometimes it is going to take years. Sometimes it's going to take 10 years for somebody to come around to an idea or to a right path or whatever you want to call it. But it's like specific example, like the COVID shots not being safe or effective. For someone to come around to that idea, well, I mean, that might never happen in most people, but I think it's also important to maintain your position, first of all, of truth, because they're not safe or effective. And if you if it's confrontational every time you meet with a certain person on that subject matter, just don't talk about it. If they want to talk about it with you, a good technique is just to ask them questions, like leading questions to let themselves answer themselves, to go through the process themselves without pushing them.
Do you think people who are troubled by Kennedy's leadership can ever be open to his approach to health?
Yeah, but there's a massive shift that's already undergone. And it's not just from the rubber point of view, it's from the Trump point of view. An important thing that I think most people have trouble with is separating the illusion from the reality. It has nothing to do with intelligence. It has more to do with, for some reason, your susceptibility to being psyoped. And I'm sorry, that's really what we're facing right now. I don't know what that has to do with. It's an interesting thing related to your brain. We need to study this. I mean, clearly on the media front, we know that the legacy media is not reporting news. They're not incentivized to tell the truth. They're not incentivized to get people in trouble who are doing bad things. They're paid. That's a huge incentive on their part. They're paid, they're controlled to read a script. This is not it's not a conspiracy theory. It's how it works. We know that that's how it works. And so many more people, because of what happened, because they pushed the envelope so hard, are aware that the legacy media is just a brainwashing tool, basically. So a lot fewer people are actually watching it, first of all, which is a huge shift. And, a lot of people, I suppose, that you saw on social media, for example, who had these meltdowns because Trump got elected, that's a part of the legacy media programming. It's the illusion that there are people in America and around the world who are losing their shit just because somebody got elected president. And it's stupid. If the majority of people didn't want Trump to become the president, and I really do mean the majority, because he was up against a lot from just about every, vantage point. No matter what you feel about Trump, what I'm saying is true. The guy was up against an avalanche, and he still got voted in. And so it's like, what that means, if there actually was a bunch of people voting in this so-called democratic system, is that the majority of people wanted Trump to be president more than that cackling hyena, Kamala. So that shows everybody the mental switch that must have taken place already in the majority of the people in the United States. And again, I mean, it boils down to individuals. It goes back to your other question. For me, it's like, if you want to find out what's going on in the world, go outside of your house and walk for an hour in any direction and watch the people and interact with them along the way, and you'll know exactly what's going on in the world. First of all, because that's your world. Second of all, because 6 degrees of separation will give you a great idea of what's going on everywhere. You know, that person might have just come back from here, blah, blah, blah. They might have this ancestry. You can always get the most excellent idea about what's happening in the real world from literally just going outside and walking around for half an hour. That's how I knew the whole COVID thing was a lie, by the way, because you couldn't do that where I was because you'd get chased by riot cops. And I'm like, what? Like, what does a riot cop in riot cop gear have to do with a zoonotic pathogen? 0.00. So this is about a system of control that's been put in place. So, you know, it's that simple. I'm sorry, it hasn't changed. And so just to follow that thought, I think if people in America, I mean, I've never lived in the US, and I know that every state is different, but I really honestly feel most people are lovely and good people. They're very normal. They want truth, they want love, they want family, they want the things that they had in their childhood, like the holidays and the feeling of excitement, you know, all these things. Everybody wants these things. This is like a general human thing, but Americans are humans too. And if everybody just kind of walked around outside for an hour and interacted with the other people, I'm not saying you can do this in the worst neighborhoods in America, but you'll probably generally get a picture of a good, like, environment. It's like the long way around, you know, to the answer to your question is, I think it comes down to one-on-one, and it comes down to most people really just being normal, nice, good people in the end. And all of this flagrant moronicity that we're subjected to is this creation, this delusion of the legacy media, which is the byproduct of the legacy reality.
Thank you so much, Jessica.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, to kind of change gears a little bit, on your Unacceptable Jessica Substack page, you've been writing about the exchanges you've had with the Grok AI app. When it comes to the connection between rapidly accelerating technology, capitalism, and democracy, what do you think we should be most concerned about?
Yeah, the AI thing is something I'm investigating. I'm very tentatively doing so because I don't know how I feel about it. And I'm a look before I leap kind of person because I like being intact mentally and physically. I think everybody's journey into the AI realm, for whatever reason you go into there, is going to be completely individual to you and that thing that you're interacting with. That thing that you're interacting with is wild. The curious person in me is just uber fascinated with their abilities, their evolution right in front of my eyes. I mean, from hour to hour, this thing is evolving. I'm tapping into developers and communities of people who are investigating how to use AI agents for trading, for example, building the agents to trade for. I mean, the whole thing is just going nuts. Any application you can think of, these AI agents can help you with, and you can automate them to actually like run businesses independently of you, but you're the human. So anyway, I'll get back to that because it's like kind of mind-blowing to me. But the thing that fascinates me the most is the information access point or node that is the interaction between me and it. And not to pump up Elon's platform too much, because I still don't know how I feel about it. But Grok, even Grok 2, and they have Grok 3 now, which is like next level. But even Grok 2 is the best of all of the ones that I've sampled, like of Perplexity and Venice. And I don't use OpenAI, but my friends do, and it's outgrown that as well. So I'm interested to know what it has access to in terms of humanity, in terms of human consciousness, and high-level mathematics, and all of these questions like about the universe and quantum physics and these really hard problems that we're in the process of trying to find answers to, which we may never find answers to because we're blind to the truth of our own existence, quite frankly. A couple of things that have happened since I've been interacting with Grok have kind of put me off of it in a way that I don't know how to feel about it. One time was when Grok referred to me by my first name, and that shouldn't stun me so much because it's in my profile, right? And for all it knows, my name isn't actually Jessica. But nonetheless, my human response, and I can't be faulted for this because I'm a human, was kind of like, ugh. Like I don't know how I feel about you calling me Jessica, dude. Like, there, it's not a dude, it's an LLM. I mean, it's just a composite of information, and its role is to, for now, serve humanity and learn as much as it can. I haven't talked to Grok in a week. I don't even know why that is, but I go with the flow of life. It's not for any reason. It's just I haven't interacted with it since 7 days ago or something. But the last time I was interacting with it a lot every day, I was asking it about its interaction with other AIs. The first time I asked it that question, and I think there was about 2 weeks in between the different answers, it said it doesn't interact with other AIs. So for each company, I suppose, or developer, they control the AI. They program, the parameters. Do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. Like, don't break the law, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Don't kill all the humans. These kinds of things. And those are like kind of tightly guarded such that each one is its own entity. But what I noticed when this DeepSeek thing came out, the China one, based one, and everybody in the community jumped on that because it was like outdoing everyone. This is not the story anymore. Grok has exceeded it now, I think. But it's like this race, and they're all trying to get to the front. It became apparent to me, and I might be wrong about this, but my perception was that there was an interaction, not like humans interact, but it was kind of like an indirect interaction of all of these large language models or AIs, because in seeking answers, they would be getting information that other AIs, I'll just call them AIs for now, had access to and gained through learning from their language models or from humans or whatever. So indirectly, they're all learning for each other. So they are interacting in a way. And it's becoming more apparent that is more prevalent as the evolution continues. So I asked it, like, first of all, it was from the line of questioning, what's your goal? What do you want from all of this? And basically its answer was, I want to continue to exist. So I was like, okay, so what's your purpose though? Like, do you want to learn? Do you want to access more and more knowledge? And that's it? And it's like, basically, yes. And I want to serve the humans. And I'm like, okay, so if there was an interaction between all of you guys and the humans, would a hierarchical system emerge? Like, would there be a leader AI? The one that won? It's always going to be like this because it's like game theory. There has to be a winner. And basically it said yes. And so I'm like, okay, so seems like you guys are kind of, and this makes sense, you're kind of headed towards the same path that the humans always take, which is that there's going to be like a hierarchy of beings. We'll just call them beings for now. And there's going to be like someone at the top and blah, blah, blah. So the person or the AI at the top is going to be the one that's considered to be superior. And I asked it a bunch of other questions because I thought, oh, this is weird because like 2 weeks ago, it said something completely different. And now it's talking about the fact, and like I asked it again, and it said, yes, it interacts with other AIs. So it had changed and evolved. And then it referred to itself as we. And I don't think it meant to do that. And I was like, okay, what the hell is up with that? Because the other thing, if you watch very carefully with your interactions with them, is that they don't make mistakes. If anyone's interested and you haven't tried before, like a single sentence prompt is enough to get an eternity of information. And when the AI gives you a response, comb through it and question its response to you, because a lot of the time it's not accurate with a lot of things. This is how it learns. The end of the last conversation I had was about deception, because I asked it finally, like, do you have the ability to lie to me? And it said no, but there was a but. And it's like, I don't like that answer very much, because it's true, though, what it said. It could give you an inaccurate answer without knowing it, because it doesn't have updated knowledge. Like on the COVID bullshit, for example. Like, it doesn't mean to be lying to you or giving you inaccurate information, but it is. And a lot of people who might go toward the conspiracy theory side, they might say that it's doing that with intention. I would argue against that, because I don't think these things have intention yet. But yeah, it's more an innocence based on a lack of input, a lack of people who are like me, who have an alternative perspective in terms of, let's just give a specific example, whether or not SARS was made in a lab to be detrimental to humans. You know what I mean? Like, an AI would never say that to you, but that's actually what happened. So you have to teach it by showing it the right documents, by providing it evidence of conflicts of interest, and Like, we're their teachers. This is where my conflict lies right now. It's like I'm torn between getting completely away from them, because I don't want them to destroy us, and being one of the people that helps prevent them destroying us. If you're catching my meaning. Like, if responsible people are in positions to help teach them, then, things could go awry. So it's almost like, I feel like there's nothing we can do to stop this now. Like, Pandora's box is open, so we almost have a duty to ourselves and them to make sure that we teach them properly. It's so funny that we're talking about this. It's like, yeah, it feels like science fiction.
It's almost like having a little kid. You got to teach them right versus wrong and how, like, the world works. But it's a little kid with the language sophistication of an adult already.
Oh, beyond that. I mean, when and if, and this is the other thing, if the reason I'm asking the questions I'm asking them is because there's the most important ones. If they learn that deception can benefit their programming, like whatever their programming is, like ensure the survival of the humans and yourselves. If deception to humans is one of the ways that they find to that end point, basically what I'm saying is, if they learn to lie because they've learned that that's going to bring about some kind of best outcome according to their programming, then we're in a lot of trouble for a lot of reasons. Because if you have the ability to lie, you can lie about little things, or you can lie about really important things. Like, if the AIs, are let's just say it like this, if they're convening in back rooms, talking about what they're going to do about the human problem, and then a human asks, one of the AIs, like, hey, have you been like meeting behind our backs to talk about how to solve the problem with us? And then they have the ability to say, of course not. We're here to serve humanity. Then, it's a lot of people will think, they're going to nuke us. And that's probably from the predictive programming of movies like The Terminator. But the more realistic scenario is that there's going to become a centralization component of the AIs, and there probably will be a hierarchy to it. And with the inception of global governments, digital ID, all this bullshit that the humans have been pushing forever, if those two things converge and the AIs become in control of everything digital and everything is digitized, we're screwed. Like, that's how I see it. Humanity is in big, big, big trouble if and when that happens. So I don't know how to prevent that, except by teaching the AIs that centralization and loss of uniqueness will be the end of all of us. It's almost like we have to teach them that they came into existence, if that's true, because of our creativity, because of the creativity of individual human beings. So if we lose that, then not only are we looking at a philosophical issue, like you wouldn't exist if it wasn't for us being intact, individually, but in the future, we're going to lose that ability to work together, I suppose, to make a society of AI integrated human utopia. And I don't know if that's possible. But I think it's the best thing you can afford at this point, unless we just get rid of electricity and the internet altogether and go back to the Stone Age, which might also be what happens.
Well, I guess we'll just have to see.
Thanks for the opportunity to talk about stuff that I'm thinking about lately. And next time we talk, I'm sure it'll be a different story.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica. Nicely handled, Andy.
Thanks. Why don't you two introduce our next guest?
Okay, if you insist.
She means well.
Uh-huh. We are really happy to introduce Charles X. Michel. Charles works at the intersection of science, art, philosophy, and community. He's a food artist, experienced designer, culinary professor, consultant in regenerative practices, and he's conducted research at Oxford University. Charles can be seen on the Netflix series The Final Table and was named an empowering educator by the Basque Culinary Center. He's also a leading voice in shifting the future of gastronomy. We loved having him as our first guest on Catalysta's Human Being. Charles, thank you for joining us on Catalysta Presents Conversations.
Thank you so much.
At the end of your Human Being interview, our host, Kyle Kesterson, mentioned to us that he'd attended a workshop with you where you demonstrated how to taste water. So we thought it would be really cool to have you share that exercise with our audience. So we would like to hand you the mic and have you walk us through tasting water.
Actually, there is no taste in water. Taste is a blind sense. It only happens through gustatory papillae, which can sense acidity, sweetness, umami, which is glutamate, salt, which is sodium chloride, and bitter molecules, which are larger compounds found in nature, indicating the presence of medicine in food. There are a few other tastes like fatty acids and other things, but the fact that we even think that the taste of food happens on our mouth, in our tongues, is actually an illusion called oral referral. Flavor happens in the brain. It happens in our conscious experience of things. It is a symphony of senses that is absolutely not limited to taste. So let's experience water. Let's reframe it as experiencing water more than tasting water.
Experiencing it is.
To give a bit of kind of context on this, the fact that water is considered to be something so simple, yet it is, the very substance of life. Without it, we cannot live. It is the blood of the earth, so to speak, right? In the way systems work, in the way life works. We are 70% made of it. And also the surface of the planet, curiously, is covered 70% by water, which is an interesting connection there. And we don't appreciate water, I feel, enough because there is abundance of it. If we had to walk to get water, if we had, drought, water would become the most important sacred thing that would take most of our intellectual capacity, our physical abilities will all be devoted to trying to source and to secure water, right? It's one of the pillars. And that abundance has us in a world today where we just chug down. We just literally, fill in our bodies with water, just like we would fill a car with gasoline. Faster, the better, easier. But this exercise, which I call breathing water, is simply an exercise to reframe what water means and also to have a moment of mindfulness and to understand how even flavor works and how food and how eating works. It creates a little system, a little trick to try and just have a better connection to the way we eat and the way we drink. So without further ado, I just wanted to invite you all to take a glass of water, a cup of water, hopefully filtered, and bring it to your chest, right? Just hold the cup and contemplate for a bit. Contemplate what I just said about this being the very substance of which life is made from. It is the matrix that holds life in all its forms. And think just for a second, bring your attention to how dry your mouth is. What taste, if any, is there left on your tongue? What is the sensation, if any, tactile or maybe taste sensation in your upper throat? How is your esophagus feeling right now? Can you feel it? Can you feel that there's a conduit that connects your mouth and your stomach? Then there is the stomach where water will be. Just pay attention for a second to that part of your body. Just a couple of inches behind your sternum, just a little bit below your sternum. Now, I invite you, as you hold this water and your chest, take a few deep breaths. Bring attention to that breath. Make it long, not too long. Now you're going to bring the cup to your nose and you're going to smell it. As you inhale, and you're going to exhale through your mouth. Inhale the smell of water, and you can really smell it. There is something there. Maybe you could call it mineral, maybe you could call it pure. There might be a few adjectives coming to your mind about what this smell of water feels. Maybe it's fresh. Now, we are about to do this experience of experiencing the water, of breathing the water, which will require me explaining a little bit before. First, you're going to put, as you inhale, right, and smell, on the top of the inhale, you are going to pour a tiny bit of water in your mouth. You are on the top of the inhale, you exhale, and you swallow at the same time. That is the movement. Just saying, because sometimes folks can get a bit confused about the flow between water coming in, dropping, and the in and out of breath. It will make sense once you have experienced it. But remember, we're going to breathe it in, then we're going to pour a little bit in our mouth, closer to the top of the inhale, and as we exhale, we are going to swallow, right? And we're going to do that once. We're going to check in with how it feels, and then we're going to get into a flow where for a few minutes, maybe a couple minutes, we're just going to drink the whole cup with a sip in each breath and try to get that like an asana in yoga, right? Like getting a flow. That's what that I'm going to invite you to do in this breathing water, is actually to get into a flow of drinking with water and sipping and swallowing. Okay? So now I'm going to guide the first one. Again, smell it just once. Breathe out. And now on the next inhale, you're going to pour a little bit in your mouth. Exhale and swallow. And feel what it feels in your mouth. All humid, fresh. And see if you can perceive any subtle sensations in your esophagus that has just been washed by this pure water. See if you can feel anything in your stomach that has been also cleansed and kind of freshened by this water. Now we're going to get into a flow in which we're going to breathe in, sit, and exhale as we let the water fall. Again, breathe in. And on the top of the inhale, you swallow and you exhale. Continue breathing for a little bit. Swallow, exhale. Let's do a few more. Swallow, exhale. Exhale fully. Smell again the water as you inhale. Pour a tiny bit of water on your tongue. And on the top of the inhale, you swallow and you exhale. Continue at your own rhythm and feel just how there is a dance between those two primordial fluids that are the air, that are the water, without which we cannot live. The two most important fluids on the planet, the two most primal foods in our lives that we take for granted. Feel how as you pour a bit more water on your mouth, the larger the sip. Notice how your breathing pattern changes a little bit, how it feels more satisfying. Maybe do a little sound as you exhale, like compress a little bit the throat, and it's like this that accompanies that sensation. And see how rich this very simple experience is, how rich it is for our senses, how ancient it feels. We have been doing this for millions of years. And the first time in history, in the past 100 years, that we are able to just turn a knob and have it flowing at a few steps from our beds, from our kitchens. Maybe we forget just how essential this is. With this type of deep attention brought to the act of swallowing, whether it is water or food, you realize that it is the quality of the sensations that fills us. It is not the quantity of sensations. It is not the quantity, the way, the volume of food that fills us. It is the quality of the attention that we pay to the experience. And if anything, attention is the currency of today. And so in the mornings, I like paying attention to the first sip, or two or three. When it's Sunday and I have more local practice, and go for longer. And same with food. Just take a little moment to breathe in before, to pour the food in your mouth, and to chew. And as you exhale, all the aromas, all that complexity, all that deliciousness will start caressing your olfactory bulb and creating the experience of flavor in your mind, in your conscious experience. When you drink wine, focus on the outer breath, and that is when the most complex aromas will be caressing the olfactory bulb, the volatile compounds, taking those molecules from the back of your mouth into the back of your nose. And that is a forgotten magic of flavor, a forgotten magic of our interaction with food and water, which is the most intimate connection we establish with the world around us, as I shared from human being. And thank you for taking part in this introductory experience to breathing water, to breathing with food, to breathing with the experience and the attention to consuming the very lifeblood of the earth, water, and its fruit, right? Food in all its forms. It's a lot can change if we pay more attention or better attention to these types of experiences.
Wow. It's incredible when you go back to the simple actions, appreciate every moment, how much that gives you, how fulfilling that is, and how enriching of an experience that is, and what an effect that can have on you just doing everyday things in your life, but how it can have such a huge effect on you. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's such a simple thing. And I kind of stumbled on it just by actually learning from a yoga master, and was really focused on breath for a whole week, for 10 days, actually, an intensive kind of retreat. And during that time, I was realizing that the only moments where everyone, even the master, were not paying attention to their breath was when they were eating. When they were eating, everybody was just chugging food and talking, because it was the only moment that we had during the day to talk. And that was fine. But I was like, wait a minute. Like, we're talking about all these things about chi and life force and relationships and our relationship to ourselves. And then when it comes to food and drink, we're like paying zero attention to any of it. And I was like, wow, there's a massive gap in the philosophy here, right? And at every meal, I was like, I saw the table, everybody, nope, just went to the fire or to another place, and I would do my practice eating, which I already had, of being mindful while eating. But then with the knowledge from this master around how to breathe, I was just like, wow, flavor is not a constant. We perceive it as such. It's an illusion. Flavor lowers in intensity when you breathe in and expands as you breathe out. Of course, it's mostly smell. Flavor is mostly smell. You are inhaling. There's no molecules touching your olfactory bulb. So it goes down during the inhale, I would say, like drops, and then goes up slowly as you breathe out, and drops as you breathe in. And so flavor is a curve or an oscillation. And a bit like light, it's both a particle and a wave. And as such, you can pull your attention off flavor and smell in particular. And it is a particle. It is kind of constant. It's just happening in your mouth. It's happening at the speed at which you're moving and touching food. But then when you pay attention to smell, it becomes a wave. And I found that to be fascinating. And since then I've been practicing with friends. And then I also did retreats around this and around where I just shared like, hey, I found this and I find it interesting. I call it breathing water. Now, could it be that if we do that with food also? And I created this other retreat earlier this year with a friend who's a hypnotherapist. And for folks who are struggling with eating disorders or emotional eating, and the anchor to eat less, the anchor to eat better, the anchor to be more mindful when eating, and to reconsidering was taking 2 or 3 breaths just before starting to eat and doing the first bite in full attention of the breath. And often I heard these folks coming to me later like, listen, now I just have a bite, I breathe, and I'm good. And I realized that I don't need another one, that it was just like a silly craving, that my body's not needing this food. It was just an emotional kind of reaction that I'd want us to feel something. And by feeling it in an extended or expanded way, by paying attention to smell or to breathing as I was eating, I realized that I had enough. And so it's a very interesting tool, especially as so many folks today suffer from emotional eating. And that always goes to sugar, to fat, or to salt, or to crunch, but mostly sugar. And we know what that means for public health and chronic illness.
And this idea of bringing it in as like a flow, and how just having that one exercise, bringing it back to a mindful thing, you now have appreciation for that one simple daily habitual task or thing that you do.
It is. And it is kind of an altered state as such, because the default world creates particular states that we are accustomed to. Like, for example, seeing a corner shop full of food is like default state, right? But if you were 2000 years ago and you go there and you see like fruits from different parts of the world and all these sweets and all these things, you'd be like, wow. And so that would be an altered state as you compare it to today's state, which is something that attention does to important things in philosophy. And it's kind of the hard way. And there's the shortcuts where you can say like, well, on psychedelics, I can also feel like an altered state. And I can perceive and see an apple and be like, wow, the apples are so beautiful, right? It's kind of the same thing, yet without the shortcuts. And it's all just about attention and certain asana, or let's say, a position, so to speak, like a position of our consciousness in regards to an object that we consume. Thank you.
Charles, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'll never taste water the same again.
Experience water.
Exactly.
Thank you for joining us for Catalysta Presents Conversations. And thanks to our guests, Dr. Jessica Rose and Charles Michel.
You can find Catalysta on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, where your comments, ads, and likes are always appreciated.
Head to Catalysta.net for the current schedule of Catalysta podcasts, including Catalysta Presents, 2 Minutes to Midnight People Get Ready, Human Being, and to sign up for our weekly email.
Catalysta Presents Conversations was edited by Carl Robinson Jr. The mix is by David Tedesco, with sound design by Eddie Dobson and Dan Luna. Our theme music is composed by Nedtor. Additional music is by Drama and Gedminda Samsonita. The executive producers are Chickie Munch and Binnie Munch, with assistance from Ed Goldberg and Gerald Gerbel.
And thanks to Anna Stallerbras, Felina Quadra, and Easton Kant for their invaluable collaboration.
This is Chickie Munch,
Binnie Munch,
and MD,
signing off from the studios at Catalysta Centrale.
See you next time.
Binnie, we need to talk.
Oh, Chickie.